The $20 strawberry. Yes, the one you've seen floating around on TikTok from Japan. And today, I'm going to teach you exactly how they make it so that you can mimic it. All this information is taken off the Japanese Horticultural Society's website, and their process that they use to actually make these Amaou, as they're called, Japanese strawberries. According to the Japanese Horticultural Society, they are not only the perfect sweetness and texture, but also the perfect size. So they care about the physical size of the berry as well. And they amount it to the soil conditions. Obviously, the species of strawberry that is being used, but that isn't the limiting factor. The volume of sun and an obsession. They literally said an obsessive level to the attention that is needed on those details. Now, the good news here is that all of this is able to be replicated at home. These Amaou strawberries are grown both hydroponically and in ground. Stuff like this and learning how to do very specific things in the garden, such as grow very specific strawberries that are worth $20 a pop, is something only a mega nerd when it comes to plants would do, such as myself. Which brings me to today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare, if you do not know what it is, it's an online learning platform where you can do various different courses, all of which will help teach you things like work skills, school skills, hobby skills, life skills, you name it. And very fittingly, one course that I did very recently was called Do What You Love, an introduction to ikigai. And if you don't know what ikigai is, it is literally the reason you get up in the morning to do what you do. And yes, it is a Japanese term. This course was actually the inspiration for this video. Many times I do just generic videos on gardening and soil science and plant science, things I already know about. But my ikigai is actually doing things that I deem impossible or that are unknown or very specialized. So in my spare time, I do things like research how to make $20 strawberries because my ikigai is that. I'm a nerd. What can I say?
But if that doesn't sound like it's up your alley, then you can try a number of other course categories that Skillshare provides, such as a productivity one by Peggy Dean regarding ChatGPT for creatives, touch into more of your creative artistic side with landscape watercoloring with Jane Davies, or if you actually just want to learn how to do better photos with your iPhone, then Sean Dalton's iPhone Photography Essentials is definitely a course you're going to want to check out.
The first 500 people to either click the link in the description, pin comment, or scan this QR code here will get 1 month free over on Skillshare, so you can find your ikigai. And if it ends up being Japanese strawberries, welcome to the Geek Crew. You should probably hit the subscribe button. Skillshare, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into how to grow some Japanese strawberries. Number one is actually the pH. Now the pH is difficult to control when we're talking raised beds or in-ground areas. However, if we're talking closed systems, such as potting soil containers and or hydroponics, this is possible. That pH is 6 when it comes to these strawberries specifically. There's very specifically nutrients that are higher availability in this range, and there are some that are lower availability in this range, which is important because for these strawberries to get the taste and flavor we want, we need more of some nutrients, less of others, and the soil pH is the only way to allow for this to happen. Unfortunately, if we want to go for these strawberries, they need to be hydroponic and or put into containers. Next off is the amount of sun. Now, sun needs to be direct sun between 6 to 8 hours. More than that, and we can dehydrate or cause too aggressive rates of evapotranspiration, which in turn will affect both the size of the fruit and the flavor of the fruit. If it's not enough, then we actually will have a reduction in the amount of nutrients that's uptaken by that fruit. The fruit may be large and fine size-wise, but flavor-wise, it's going to be lacking because it doesn't have all the nutrients it needs to uptake. And temperature obviously plays into this too. The higher temps above 25 degrees Celsius, we end up with too much water loss, too much mineral loss. And then the opposite end is if it's below 20 degrees Celsius, we have fruits that are going to be lacking nutrients, but not so much water, solely because there isn't a constant flow in of those minerals because it can't uptake water because it doesn't have the heat that allows it to grow, to utilize said minerals, nutrients, and water. Now, when it comes to the type of fertilizer, unfortunately, this is going to be synthetic, very specifically a liquid synthetic bloom formula. Now, the pH is the dictating factor as to how much of this nutrient is uptaken, but the true availability of that nutrient when said water is present is completely based off of what you're fertilizing with. And in the case of these strawberries, it's going to have to be a liquid synthetic. And that is because that is the most immediately available source of nutrients. It is very easy to control the volumes in which the plant gets and to adjust accordingly in the hydroponic or in the container setting. Which brings me into the last thing that the Japanese are obsessive over, and that is having a continual source of water. So they never allow these to dry out, but they also never allow them to become oversaturated, which means it is incredibly important that you use a dripper system whenever possible, because that is going to make a huge difference when it comes to continual nutrient and water uptake without suffocating any of the roots and or letting things dry out too much. And when it comes to pruning, we actually only want to prune and select the best quality flowers and or fruits. So if things are looking a little goofy on a flower, you want to remove it. If a fruit is starting to form a little funny, we want to remove that and allow all the energy to be placed into the fruits that are very specific looking. Now, keep in mind what I said at the beginning, obsessive levels of care, which means you need to be super obsessive over which fruits make it or don't make it in this case. Aphids, spider mites, and fruit flies are going to be enemy number one when it comes to pest control, which is why these Japanese strawberries use a lot of preventative methods, because even one small nick, it's enough to get that fruit removed as being a potential candidate for the $20 strawberry. What they do is reflective mulches, as well as continual applications on a regular basis, weekly, of neem and or an insecticidal soap. So from right at the beginning of the season to the end, you just want to continually be applying this. And the reflective mulch we've spoken about before, and remind me to put a link down below for that. Helps actually just with any plant in general. All three of those things help with any plant and in preventing any sort of pest issues that may arise. But needless to say, all of this can actually be used with any fruit or flower or vegetable you desire. You just have to be able to mimic their ideal scenarios for life, and then also be incredibly picky as to which flowers and fruits make it to the end. You can let me know in the comments down below if you're obsessive when it comes to knowing the shape and the texture and that sort of thing of your fruits and vegetables. If you are one to remove tomatoes that don't look 100%, or to remove strawberries that don't look 100%, or do you just kind of let things grow as is and then you get what you get in the end? For me personally, that is my norm, is just to kind of let things go. Every once in a while, like I said, I'll just get like a weird obsession, and that will be the thing that I become obsessive over, and I will remove the duds out of my life. So, anywho, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.